Hello, hello, hello. This is your boy Carl E. Long. Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk with Carl E. Long. That would be myself. Hope you're having a great day today. Hope you're having a great day. So, it's time to talk again, guys. I'm so glad that you have been engaging. The comments are firing up, and I'm glad to see that people give a damn. I'll just say that straight on. I'm glad to see people give a damn. People are starting to wake up a little bit here. They're starting to wake up because how can you sleep through a hurricane known as Donald J. Trump? Guys, I thought the first presidential term of Donald Trump was a whirlwind. This one, by comparison, the first one was nothing, but that was patty cake. This right now, guys, he has nothing to lose. He can't run for president again. He is trying everything that he can, and trust me, if you guys think that this is just not something that they sat down and figured out for themselves when they came up with the Project 2025 agenda, then you are wrong, because this is calculated. It's calculated. Now, when you have people that are schemers, thieves, and whatever else you have, people that are oligarchs, there is a plan of action. There is always a plan of action, and we have to be smart. Democrats, you got to be smart. Don't fall for any of the traps, because they are. Trump is trying everything he can to get just to the tip of messing with the judicial agreements or decrees, and he's just testing the waters to see how far he goes, and everybody's taking the bait. Yeah. So today, guys, I have a lot of subject, but the main focus of this subject is today we are talking about America. Is DEI removal just a dog whistle for something else? We're talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Is DEI removal just a dog whistle for something else? Well, as a black American, a black male American, and if you're black in this country and you're seeing what's happening with the whole dismantling of the DEI programs in the government, the only thing that we can see as black Americans is this is a war on being black. It's a war on being black. Yeah, it really is, because of all the stories that we've been seeing in the news about what's going on with DEI. The one thing that is really telling is that every single one of them has something to do with black people. So what are we supposed to think? We're supposed to think that this is not a war on black America. This is just something that they think that it's not working anymore, that's going to benefit all of America. That lie that they tell, is that what we're supposed to believe? Well, if you're a black person, and some of you are not, you have no idea of what we're feeling and what we're seeing here. So just a broad base definition of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI initiatives have become a major focal point in corporate America, educational institution, and government programs. These initiatives aim to level the playing field for historically marginalized communities, ensuring fair treatment and equal opportunities. Okay? Let's just set the stage. Now, white Americans, please don't sit there and think that you have not had a monopoly on everything. Everything. Money, housing, homes, schools, Hollywood, sports. I mean, all of us people of color, we had to fight to be a part of any of these things, and we still fight. But you have decided that the fight is over, everything is equal now, and we need to get rid of all this crap, as you call it. Crap. But what you're really telling us is that black people, get back into your place. Women, get back into your place. LGBTQI, you don't exist. Get back into your place. Handicapped people, you got enough. We got you ramps and all kinds of things. Get back into your place. Because these are the things that have really been affected by DEI. And you know what? I don't know that people know that the person that has benefited the most from DEI has been white women. Yeah. White women have overwhelmingly benefited from the DEI programs. People of color have even got a slice of it good. Because women are included in this initiative, white women have been the ones that have benefited the most, because all these companies that want to satisfy their DEI, instead of picking a person of color, they go with a white woman. That's easier. I can deal with the woman easier. So now I can go back to my company and say, we've diversified. Look at all the women that I hired, but they're all white women. So this is such a slap in the face. Yeah. So let me tell you the executive orders that Trump has initiated on DEI, the war on DEI. Let's just look at what he has done on DEI. Well, let's first talk about what the importance of DEI is. Here we go. The importance of DEI in America. DEI is not just about checking a diversity box. It's about fostering an environment where innovative inclusion and equity drive growth and success. Here are some key reasons why DE matters. Economic and business growth. I think I've talked to you guys about this before, right? Closing the wage and opportunity gaps. Historically marginalized communities, particularly women and people of color, have faced barriers to career advancement. I've been in situations where at my job, I know I've always been the lowest paid in the room, but doing the most work. DEI programs aim to address these disparities by offering mentorships, leadership training, and fair hiring practices. There's nothing in the law, guys, that mandates any of this. We want people to do things naturally. So DEI is not affirmative action. It's a different way of looking at it. It is giving you and attracting talent, trying to get the word out there as to what jobs are there. So attracting and retaining talent. DEI initiatives make companies more attractive to employees. Research from Claremont Lincoln University shows that inclusive workplaces experience lower turnover rates and higher employee engagement. That's a study. That's a fact. That is a fact. And then you want DEI to be reflecting the changing demographics of America. Why does it have to be all white men in everything, guys? There are other people in this country. By 2045, America is projected to be a majority minority country. Businesses and organizations that embrace DEI will be better positioned to serve a diverse consumer base and build long-term relationships with customers. So who benefits the most? Right? Who benefits the most? You know, the surprising answer is who benefits the most is the companies. I would say the company. DEI policies are often framed as tools to uplift people of color, women, LGBTQ plus individuals, and other marginalized groups. However, data reveals that the biggest beneficiaries is, and I already said that, are white women. White women have been the one that have benefited the most. And you're fighting on that because it's like we have not taken over anything. We still can't do it. Even with this initiative, you found a loophole. So white women as a whole have made a significant strides in leadership. Yeah. The largest gains have been among white women. A Forbes report states that white women hold nearly 19% of all C-suite positions, while women of color just hold 4%. Chief diversity officers are majority white. The majority white. I mean, guys, we have got some talented people that are not white men. All right? White men, you're going to have to step back a little bit, let somebody else do something, all right? Ironically, many DEI leadership roles are occupied by white individuals. According to a Medium report, 76.1% of chief diversity officers are white, while black or African Americans represent just 3.8%. We're not asking you to do anything other than give us a seat at the table, a chance to compete. affirmative action and white women. Research from the National Bureau of Economic Research indicates that white women have been the primary beneficiaries of affirmative action in education and the workplace. While affirmative action was designed to level the playing field for racial minorities, white women have received the largest share of the new job opportunities. You know what? I'm not mad at them, but they have used this as a loophole to satisfy whatever their companies are telling them to do. They just put some women in there. Okay, we've done it. We diversified. All right. Businessship and ownership and government contracts. We want a stab at it. There's some black and women-owned businesses have increased substantially over the last few years, and white women have had greater success to capital. Again, this is what's happening, guys. This is what's happening. I won't stay on that so long. But during all of this period, let me show you what Trump has done. He has removed all of these initiatives through executive orders. Here's what he's done. All right. President Trump's administration is implementing a series of executive actions aimed at dismantling diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives across the federal government. These measures have significantly altered policies related to hiring practices, federal contracting, and the presentation of historical content on government platforms. One of them was Executive Order 1541, ending radical and wasteful government DEI programs and preferencing. He did that on January 20th. This order mandates the termination of all DEI-related mandates. All right, so he's getting rid of all the programs. It requires agencies to report all employees in DEI and environmental justice positions to the Office of Management and Budget, OMB. Within 60 days, they had. Then there was Executive Order 14173, ending legal discrimination and restoring merit-based opportunities. This order prohibits federal departments from issuing contracts to private organizations that enforce DEI framework. So basically, if you look like you're black and you're trying to get a contract, you're probably not going to get in now. They're saying there's an equal playing field. Now, if you got rid of this, yeah, right. We'll see. And then there's the rescission of Executive Order 11246, originally signed in 1965. This one hurts. Prohibits federal contractors from engaging in employment discrimination and mandated affirmative action program. The Trump administration rescinded the order, characterizing it as a fostering preferential treatment and deviating from merit-based hiring practices. This was signed in 1965. It's been an EO ever since, executive order. They should have turned it into a law so we couldn't have these problems. But Trump, with his pen, just got rid of it. So all DEI offices, positions, and programs within federal entities are being terminated. Equity-related grants and contracts are also being rescinded. Federal contractors, organizations contracting with the federal government, are now prohibited from implementing DEI programs in their employment practices. They have been given 90 days to comply. Now, this is the one that we've been in the news. Historical content. The Department of Defense has removed web pages highlighting the contributions of minority service members, such as Native code takers and figures like Jackie Robinson, as part of this DEI thing. All right, let's just talk about that a little bit here. So what they did, they're using AI, artificial intelligence, and they put some keywords in the AI engine, and they said, look for anything that has these words. So I'm just going to let Abby Phillip tell you a little bit about it, and then I'll stop it and show you some of the keywords. Here we go.
To find all things linked to diversity, military units were told to use search keywords like racism, ethnicity, history, first values, justice, and respect.
All right, so look at these words. Asian ethnicity, values, gender-based violence, racism, privilege, African ethnicity, historic, respect. So this is going to just about wipe out any person of color on a website. Yeah. So, and they're saying that they did it that way, which they probably did, and just took all these articles down and put up a blank page that said that was just a blank page that went nowhere.
Robinson's honor page was restored only after a series of attempts to explain why it was purged in the first place. But by then, the damage was already done. To find all things linked to diversity, military units were told to use search keywords like racism, ethnicity, history, first values, justice, and respect.
All right, so I just thought I'd play those words for you one more time. So that's what was happening, and a lot of these things were removed. But you know what? To think about it, it was only Pete Hegseth in the defense where it was happening the most. That guy, I don't know what his problem is, but he has something against people of color and women. I mean, and before he became our dear defense secretary, he was quite vocal about it. I mean, he was quite vocal about what he felt about women in the military. Very vocal. I mean, in Senate, they posed him on it, but of course he changed his tune just to get confirmed. So he says he don't believe in that anymore. Yes, but why did you go so hard on all the times before, Mr. Defense Secretary? So you just had a change of heart because why? Because they asked you to be Defense Secretary? Is that why? God, I tell you. So one of the people that they moved was, one of them they restored it since then, was a Black Medal of Honor winner. All of this has been restored after they decided, and the public came on them so very badly. A lot of it's been restored. And I don't know, they took him out because he was the first black, and they had his black, and took him down, but they put him back up there. So he's been restored. And Major Jen Rogers' site was called to diversity a strength. So they put him back up there, and that one's been restored. All right. And let's see, who was the other one? There was a Native American group, the Coders. They were removed. I don't know if they've been restored or not, but there was something, articles about Native American code talkers removed from military websites. Those were removed. Yes, but I think they've been restored. Not sure on those. All I know is Jackie Robinson has been restored. All right. And they removed, of course, Jackie Robinson. You know, Jackie served in the military. And dear Jackie Robinson was removed from the website. What does this do, guys? What does this prove? What does this tell us? It tells us black people that you don't want us to have any kind of part in this American history whatsoever. And that hurts. That hurts a lot. Who else did they remove? They removed Colin Powell. Pete Hegseth removed Colin Powell's name from a list of notable Americans buried at Arlington National Cemetery. Hegseth also removed the names of every person of color and every woman on the same list. Only white men were left in place. What does that tell a black person? What does that tell us? Was it a mistake, or did you do it on purpose? Was it really a mistake? You never know with this administration. They lie so much, you never, ever know. You never, ever know. So I want you to hear dear Maxine Waters speak on this whole subject. She has a passion and fight, and I will always admire her fight for the Black American cause in this country. So this is dear Congresswoman Maxine Waters from California. Here's her thoughts.
I am almost speechless and overwhelmed by the opposition to diversity and inclusion. This amendment, which would allow the committee to monitor federal regulators' efforts to implement the diversity requirements outlined in the Dodd-Frank Act, seeks to restore a provision that was agreed upon by Republicans just last Congress. Let's be clear. Agencies under this committee's jurisdiction are required by law to take affirmative steps to promote diversity in their workforce at all levels. It is the responsibility of Congress to ensure proper oversight of this critical work. Despite the law just yesterday, the Trump administration required, get this, all federal employees in diversity, equity, and inclusion roles must be placed on leave, paid leave, by 5 p.m. tomorrow, and that all DEI programs be removed. Last Congress, the past chair publicly committed to examining DEI throughout the committee's work. Unfortunately, this commitment proved to be a little more than lip service. This Congress, Republicans are not even pretending. It is clear that they're following marching orders from their bosses, President Trump and co-President Musk. This abandonment sends a dangerous message that Black and brown Americans, women, LGBTQ individuals, and people with disabilities do not deserve the same access to opportunities and resources as their white male counterparts. Ensuring the federal regulations fulfill their DEI obligations. This is not a partisan issue. It is a matter of justice, economic fairness, and compliance with the law. And so I sit here as an African-American woman with an amendment talking about getting rid of our families, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, people in this country who have been a part of slavery, helping to build this country, who are still denied the equal opportunities. We don't make as much money as white people. We don't own as much as white people. We don't have the opportunities. Things are not open. And I'm supposed to sit here and nicely say, oh, that's not nice. This is hell produced by the President of the United States of America and his co-president. This is outrageous. This is absolutely outrageous. And I've got 30 seconds left, and all I can say is, I will not sit here day in and day out and listen to this crap without calling it what it is. And members, that's your president, and that's your co-president, but I'm going to gear in on everything that's done with this kind of racism and discrimination while I sit here and the other minorities sit here and listen to this crap.
I love Maxine. I love Maxine Waters. And she's telling the truth. That's the dog whistle, guys. Y'all can call it whatever you want to. You can call it whatever you want to. This is all about. It's all about our white brothers and sisters, and I say brothers and sisters because you are. Some of you just can't deal with other people being at an equal level. What is wrong with that? Nobody is asking for a handout. We don't want a handout. We want to earn it. We just want to know about it. All of this stuff is in secret. We don't know about the positions. We want to know about them. We want to compete for them just like you do. We want the same opportunities. Black people don't like handouts. We have to fight for everything that we get. We have to be much better at everything that we get. We already know that. I tell you, this whole thing is just really heartbreaking to see it happening before our face. I just can't believe we're here. I cannot believe that this is where we are in our country. Now, this next DEI dismantling really, really hurt. When you go in toward the children. All right, so this is, the government has taken all DEI. So government includes some entertainment venues, which is the Kennedy Center, which Trump has personally decided he wants to be on the board. And anything that has anything to do with DEI, they're not even wanting to do it. So let me let 60 Minutes tell you a little bit about what happened to this little band of children who were to play with the military, the Marine band, but the program was canceled because it was a DEI initiative. Here we go.
The United States Marine Band was founded in 1798. Thomas Jefferson gave it its nickname, the President's Own. Today, 135 Marines still perform the score of the White House from parties to inaugurations. So there was excitement last year when the Marines judged a contest for teenage musicians. The winners would perform with the band. 30 students were chosen. The concert was scheduled, but last month it was canceled. President Trump had issued his executive order against diversity programs, and the young musicians were Black, Hispanic, Indian, and Asian. Because they were silenced, many wanted to hear them, including veterans of military bands who gathered in an improvised orchestra of equity that you might call America's own.
The story will continue in a moment.
All right, so I didn't pull down the whole clip, of course, but that was the actual thing that happened. And if you have time, look at the entire 60 minutes episode there, and you'll see the kids talking, how disappointed they were. But they ended up finding another place for them to play, which was great. But they were supposed to play with the Marine Band at the Kennedy Center, which has been like accosted by Trump. Nobody wants to go there anymore. The play Hamilton was supposed to have a run there. They decided they're not coming. It's a lot of stuff that's happening, guys, and this is sad. It's sad that our country has come to this. But what's really sad is the disillusionment of the people on the right and how much they deal in untruths, lies, and deception. And they live with it. And it's okay with them. And they speak it. And it's okay with them. I don't get it. I do not get it. So I want to say Kamala told us. She tried to tell us. Listen to this little video that I have here where a social media person put this together. Well, Kamala, she told us everything. And you know what? I'm very passionate about Kamala and the work that she did for us, bringing our party back together. She did some hard work. She fought hard. And we came up short. So the country thinks, but I'm telling you, I still believe that there was Russian influence in this election. There's proof, but there's nothing we can do about it. Kamala won this election, and I know that in my heart that she won it. And I just want you to listen to how she was pushing so hard. Now, this is where I got upset with the media. Every time she tried to talk about Project 2025, one of the media people goes, the president has said, and Kamala pushed back on them every time. You think we believe it? Do y'all believe him now? I'm asking y'all right now, the listeners. Do you believe that Trump knew anything about Project 2025 now, even though he disavowed it? What you say now? Right? So, journalists pissed off at you for how you did Kamala every time she tried to bring that up, or anybody that brought it up. Well, the president said, I don't care what he said. It was a lie. And you normalized that lie. And that was giving us a lot of traction. Everybody pulled back after he came out and disavowed. We fell into a trap. We fell into another trap. He lied. The media took it as him being truthful. And they wouldn't even talk about it anymore. They wouldn't even talk about it. I fought your media for that. That was your part in us losing this election, media. That was it. So Kamala tried to tell us. Here we go.
Just read Project 2025.
The former president said that's not true. He would veto.
He says everything. Come on, are we really taking his word for it?
I told you so.
Tariffs on all imports that he has described would be a 20% sales tax, in essence, on basic necessities for the average American worker.
I told you so.
They even want to eliminate the Department of Education and end Head Start.
which of course would take away preschool from hundreds of thousands of our children.
I hate to say it, I told you so.
Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
I hate to say it, I told you so.
Donald Trump intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations and make working families foot the bill.
I hate to say it, I told you so.
Ask Donald Trump what his plan is for black America. Democracy. You know what he says he'll do? Terminate the Constitution of the United States.
That's right.
Let me remind folks. You know what's in the Constitution of the United States? The Fourth Amendment, which protects you against unreasonable searches and seizures. The Fifth Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, which in most of those amendments, one thing or another was about a movement spurred by black people to ensure that we would be equally protected under the law.
I hate to say it, I told you so.
There is a huge contrast in this election. Donald Trump has said he will be a dictator on day one.
I hate to say it, I told you so.
That's a cool little jingle. Hate to say, I told you so. She told us over and over again. And people kept saying when Kamala was saying things that she kept repeating herself. So was Donald Trump. See, that's why they didn't give her equal treatment. Donald Trump repeated the same crap at every rally. But when Kamala did it, she keeps saying the same. She needed to. So that y'all could hear her trying to save this damn democracy. But no, all of you black men that decided to vote for Trump, all you Latinos that decided to go ahead and the independents, oh my God, don't get me started on independents and undecided voters. Those got under my craw. Make up your damn mind. Pick a side and vote. And I guess you did. Because independents overwhelmingly voted for Trump. So this just kills me. And let's just talk about elections right now, because another thing that is driving me batty is listening to. Here is the go-to line for every political right-wing pundit or strategist. Well, the American people has a mandate, and the American people, 77%, the American people, there is no freaking mandate. There is no mandate. Let's just get the terms right. There was no mandate on this election. So that you know, let me tell you, that's another of the big lie. So let's just go through this. Because I'm tired of people saying that. If anything makes me totally upset is when I hear that is their go-to line every time something goes wrong. The American people voted for this. No, we did not. And it's not a freaking mandate. Here we go. Look, Donald Trump didn't win by a historic landslide. It's time to nip that lie in the bud. That's my boy, dear Mehdi Hassan. In 2024, we have a new post-election lie. Trump didn't just win. Republicans say he won big. He won by a landslide. That is false. Hear me? That is false. He did not win by a landslide. So you remember the big lie in 2020, right? When he said he won the election. Well, this is the new big lie. And every time he says it, and all his little pundits follow him too. So in 2024, we have a new post-election lie from the Republican Party. Trump just didn't win. They say he won big. He won a landslide. He won historic mandate for his MAGA agenda. And it was Trump himself, of course, on election night, who was first to push this grandiose and self-serving falsehood, calling his win a political victory that our country has never seen before, and claiming America has given us a mandate. Lies. Do you see what I mean? And why do y'all fall for this crap? Tell me why you fall for this. I don't understand why you fall for this when we have facts. We have facts. So that was the big lie. All right. So remember the big lie in 2020. Donald Trump lost the presidential election, so Republicans just brazenly lied and insisted he won. They just went along with it. just because. Well, the president's doing, I guess we got to go along with it. And you ask them the question, they'll say, they won't answer the question. They'll say, Joe Biden was the president, but they won't answer the question. Do you think that Donald Trump won the election? Joe Biden was. That's their fear coming in, because if they say anything, Trump will come after them. And they know that, right? In 2024, we have a new post-election lie. He won a landslide. America has given us an unprecedented, powerful mandate. Lie. Here goes some facts. Let's go to some facts here. Facts number one. In the 2024 U.S. presidential election, Donald Trump won 312 electoral votes to Kamala Harris's 226 and secured the popular vote with 49.8% compared to Harris's 48.3%. He wasn't even over 50%, so he didn't get half the country. All right. This 1.5 percentage point margin marks the first time a Republican candidate has won the popular vote since 2004. That's the only thing that he won, that he can boast about. That's it. That's the truth right there. A Republican candidate had won the popular vote since 2004. That's all you get out of this, Donald. That's it. However, it's noteworthy that Trump did not achieve an absolute majority, as his popular vote share remained below 50%. Facts. 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 Fact number two. Second, consider the Electoral College. Trump won 312 electoral votes, which is 42 more than is needed to secure victory in the Electoral College. But it's still far fewer than Bill Clinton won in 1992, 370 in 1996, 379, and far fewer than Barack Obama won in 2008, 365. Okay? And it's pretty similar to what Trump himself won in 2016, 304. So he didn't even outdo himself. He only got 3 more electoral votes. Okay? He didn't do that well. And Trump himself won in 2016, 304, and what Biden won in 2020, 36. Trump's margin of victory in the Electoral College ranks 44th out of the 60 presidential elections in American history. We actually know what a landslide win is in the Electoral College. Looks like Ronald Reagan, guys. Ronald Reagan won re-election with the whopping 525 Electoral College votes in 1984. That's a friggin' landslide. That's a landslide, people. And by the way, did you know that Trump won the crucial blue wall states, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin by 231,000 votes? So it's just 160,000 voters across these 3 swing states, or 0.07 of the total, had switched from Trump to Harris. It is the vice president who would have won the Electoral College and the president. It was that close. It was that close, guys. It was not a historic win. Yes, we lost, according to what they had. But, I'm going to go back to my little theory. There was Russian interference, guys. I don't care. There's facts. There are facts out there. Nobody wants to listen. I'm going to keep saying it until somebody talks about the audit that is going on those swing states and the voting pattern. The bell curve is off, guys. There is a Russian tail that was noticed in our election in the early voting, but only in the swing states. Facts. We have people out there that are doing an audit, not a recount, an audit. All right. Fact number 3. And the former president's margin of victory over Harris is a minuscule 1.6 percentage points, smaller than that out of every winning president since 1888, other than 2. John F. Kennedy in 1960 and Richard Nixon in 1968, as an analysis in the New York Times noted last month. In fact, in the 55 presidential elections in which the popular vote winner became president, 49 of them were won with a margin bigger than Trump in 2024. We actually know what a landslide is. Votes look like. The Democratic Lyndon Johnson defeated Republican Barry Goldwater in 1964 by an enormous margin of 22.6 percentage point. Facts. All right? More facts. Still no mandate. Fact 4. Repeat after me. There is no landslide. There was no blowout. There was no sweeping mandate given to Trump by the electorate. The numbers don't lie. First, consider the popular vote. Yes, Trump became the first Republican for 2 decades to win the popular vote. However, per results from CNN, the Cook Political Report, and the New York Times, he did not win the majority of the vote. Barack Obama did in both 2008 and 2012. Joe Biden did in 2020. But Donald Trump failed to do so in 2024. He did not win a majority of the vote. Do you know what I mean? I'm talking about the majority. He did not. And that's when you put all the votes together. He should have a clear majority. He does not. The math shows you that. All right? Next fact. Trump, the 49.9% president, doesn't represent the popular will. Yes, he won the election fair and square. Not. That's just me throwing that in. And won the popular vote for the first time. But we are to prevent him from expanding his power in the Oval Office. We must resist this new Republican election lie. We must not allow him to pretend that he has some sort of special mandate for controversial policies and personnel. Guys, y'all gonna hear it every time you look at any show. Well, the American people had a mandate. It's not a freaking mandate. And Democrats, if you're smart, call it out every time you hear it. This is what kills me about Democrats. Quit letting him say this stuff. Journalists, quit letting them say that there was no mandate. All right, one more time. Repeat after me. There was nothing unique or unprecedented about the election results for 2024. Republicans may feel they won a huge victory over Democrats, and Trump may feel his election win was historic, but to borrow a line from the right, the facts don't care about their feelings. Now that we got that out of the way, because that one right there drives me batty. Shermichael Singleton, Scott Jennings, and a bunch of those other pundits, they will just kill me with some of this stuff. And every time they say it, I just cringe. I cringe. All right, news. The federal employees that have been laid off, a lot of them have been reinstated by judges. This is good news. So let's just show you what's going on here. So we have terminated and reinstated employees from the EPA, the Energy, the Commerce, DHS, and those of you that are listening and not watching, I'm putting the chart up. It shows all the different departments and all of the number that have been reinstated. It is enormous, and I love it. But they have put them on a special leave. So I'm going to play you a soundbite from the federal employees network and let you hear what is going on with this reinstatement from the judges. So listen in, and we'll come back.
Thousands of federal employees who were fired during their probationary periods have their jobs back, on paper anyway. In a court filing last night, the Trump administration detailed the process agencies have gone through to reinstate those fired workers in the aftermath of a judge's ruling that found the terminations were illegal. But the administration also made clear it's not happy about having to process those reinstatements, and it's still fighting in federal appeals court. Federal News Network's Jared Serbu is here with more on the legal process and the details on which agencies are undoing those terminations. And Jared, as of this morning, those folks are back on the payroll, but not necessarily at work.
Yeah, that's right. And it's going to vary a little bit by agency, Tom, but in the vast majority of cases, folks are being placed on administrative leave for one reason or another. What most agencies say is that that's really just an interim measure because that's what needs to happen in order for all the paperwork processing to happen to get these people back into the jobs that they had prior to what have now been deemed illegal terminations. So again, that's going to vary agency by agency, but in the vast majority of cases that we know about, and we should talk about what we know about and what we do know about, it's going to be a case of them being an administrative leave. That particular factoid is also relevant because in a separate court case in California, a federal judge late last night issued a separate directive to the government telling them to explain, okay, why are these people being placed on administrative leave? That's not what my order said. So we've got a little bit of a complication here in that two different courts are issuing substantially the same orders telling federal agencies to bring these folks back. One of these orders affects some agencies, one of these orders affects the others. So this situation is a bit messy.
Right, and do we expect the Trump administration to appeal in both cases?
In fact, they already have. In the California case, they have appealed to the Ninth Circuit. We have an initial ruling out of the Ninth Circuit just over the weekend, or actually just yesterday on Monday, denying an initial administrative stay that would have stayed the district court's judge reinstating those employees and allowed those terminations to continue. In the Maryland case, they've appealed to the Fourth Circuit, and they have not issued a ruling yet out of that appeals court. But point is, in both cases, the administration is absolutely still fighting these orders from these two federal judges ordering the reinstatements.
Right. There is the whole question of standing, and who has the standing here, I think, is what they might be arguing. In the meantime, how many people are involved, and what do we know agency by agency so far?
So we have a pretty good detailed list of the agencies that were affected in the Maryland case. And I really want to emphasize that because the Maryland case numerically affects most federal agencies, but it excludes the Department of Defense. So huge caveat there. But out of the agencies that are covered, 24,583 employees were terminated. Vast majority of those would have been, or the largest number of those would have been in the Treasury Department, especially in the IRS. But almost all of those have been brought back, or employees have at least been notified that they're being reinstated. So the number of employees being reinstated exactly is 24,570. Most of the ones who haven't been reinstated, which is just about 13, in almost all cases, those are folks who declined to be reinstated. But point is, in almost every case, people who were fired over the past month under these directives from the Office of Personnel Management have been brought back onto the job temporarily. It's an open question as to how long they will stay in those jobs, and that is a point the government hammers home over and over again in the court declarations it filed last night, Tom. One of the issues that it's pressing here is, okay, we can do this, but one, it's going to be very burdensome for us. Two, it could subject these employees to a lot of turmoil if these orders are overturned in an appeals court or in some other fashion, or these same employees are let go later in the year through a normal reduction in force process. So a bit of an odd argument to be making to people who are fired that it's unfair to the employees to bring them back, but they're going for it.
Right, and so the employees really can't go back to work in the case where they're on administrative leave. So they are getting a paycheck again. So I guess it must be a little confusing. And what else do we know about California? Those layoffs? I mean, this is a nationwide effect. Do we have any details from other places?
Yeah, let me try and decomplicate that a little bit. So the California case applied only to a handful of agencies, but importantly, for the purposes of our discussion this morning, it did include the Department of Defense. And DOD is the big kahuna that we still don't have really any numbers from so far in terms of how many they have terminated over the past month and how many they have reinstated subject to that California order. And remember, the Maryland order covered basically everybody else with only 3 exceptions: DOD, NOAA, and the Office of Personnel Management itself, interestingly. But when you put those two orders together, substantially all of the government is covered with orders saying that they need to bring back their probationary employees. By noon today, in that California case, The judge wants an explanation as to why these folks are being brought back, in many cases, in just an administrative leave status instead of being put fully back into their jobs that they had prior to being fired. I expect that we're going to get many of the same explanations that agencies have already given, which is this is a burdensome, paperwork-intensive process. I don't think this California judge is going to have a lot of sympathy for that argument. He's been very frustrated with the government's filings over the past few days, in which they've come forward with agency declarations explaining how difficult this is going to be. And the reason that is frustrating, he says, to that court is that the government had failed to produce any witnesses at all up through last Thursday to explain exactly what they were up to here. That case specifically, Tom, was the one that was challenging the legality of OPM issuing what OPM says was guidance. What the plaintiffs say was an illegal order to go fire these employees. That case ruled that OPM has no such authority to direct any such firings across the federal government, and determined that those were actually illegal and ineffective, which is why he's ordering them brought back.
Wow, it's a lot of complicated legal entanglement here, I guess, both ways. And what about Veterans Affairs? Because that was another one that let go of some probationary, and they've been bringing people and expanding that agency a lot over the last few years.
Yeah, the VA had a vast number of probationary employees and really fired relatively few of them. There were 46,000 probationaries overall. They fired 1,683. All of those have been brought back. There were also some that VA early in the termination process brought back on its own without a court order, but officials say, like most other departments that we heard from in those court filings last night, that they've all been brought back, at least in that administrative leave status.
Federal News Network's Jared Serbu, thanks for that report.
Thank you, Tom.
And be sure to check out his story at federalnewsnetwork.com.
All right, I want you to hear the entire thing so you can get a gist of what's going on with the courts. So there's a lot of fight going on. I know the Democrats look kind of shabby and they're not doing stuff, but that was a result of some lawsuits, and those people are back. Now, because there's an appeal process that's going on, they got them on extended leave because, you know, the appeal might send them, they might let that go forward and they still could be terminated. But the fact that the judge said to bring them back, they're back. But as you heard from the reporter, they're kind of in limbo, but they're at least getting their paycheck. And that's all we care about for now, with some of this craziness that's going on with the government on that respect. So meanwhile, I know you heard about how the Trump is just, I don't know, what is his fascination with JFK? I don't know. I don't know what his fascination is with JFK and why he wanted to get these files out there to the public, which is fine. I'm a historian. I want to read it. But he did something really stupid. He ordered them to be unredacted without doing. This is what I'm saying, guys. They're not doing any research. I mean, they're using AI to clean the websites from the defense to take down DEI. I mean, this is defense. What if they do something careless like that in something important? I'm not trusting them. So this was a careless error on Trump's part of releasing these files and ordering that they be unredacted. So listen to this reporting. And this is a comedy of errors coming from the Republican Party and the Trump administration. Here we go.
Some serious security concerns over the newly released JFK files and real anger after Social Security numbers and other private information of more than 200 people were made public on Tuesday. The Washington Post reports that among them are former congressional staffers and one of Donald Trump's most vocal defenders, his former campaign lawyer, Joseph DeGeneva. He is furious, telling the Post it's absolutely outrageous, adding, "It's like a first-grade elementary level rule of security to redact things like that." And it happened because the president announced the release without warning. As the New York Times reports, some of the country's top national security officials had spent hours trying to assess any possible hazards under extreme deadline pressure. Some officials raised concerns about unintended consequences of rushing the release of the files. They were released anyway. Joining us now is Charlie Sykes, MSNBC contributor and columnist. Jonathan Capehart is an MSNBC host, associate editor of The Washington Post, Pulitzer Prize-winning journal, and author of the upcoming book, Yet Here I Am, Lessons from a Black Man's Search for Home. Jonathan, besides the fact that I have to say great picture on the cover, look, flags, red flags were waved and reportedly ignored. What does this decision say?
I think Mr. DeGeneva has it right. I mean, this is amateur hour. This is not how things are supposed to be done. Some of the most sensitive information that there can be for an individual out there for the public to see. And as he says in the Washington Post story, he has had death threats. He is now open to identity theft. Anyone whose private information is out there. Why release the JFK files unless you are part of or believe in the conspiracy theories about the late president's death? And to release these files without doing the work of redacting the sensitive information, but also going through and seeing what national security issues might be there for the unintended consequences you mentioned, just shows seemingly a cavalier attitude towards the information that was actually released.
Charlie, Jonathan's paper, The Post, talked to an intelligence expert who said this: someone dropped the ball. I hope they weren't as sloppy in the JFK files with covert agents and assets overseas. Should it be obvious to everyone why you don't rush this?
It ought to be, and I think that I agree with everything that Jonathan said, and the real concern ought to be the pattern and practice that we're seeing from this administration, which was not only cavalier and sloppy in the release of this document, but throughout the government, where we're seeing this rush to follow Donald Trump's sometimes erratic impulses to shut things down, to release things. And there's been a cavalier attitude towards privacy and civil liberties really across the board.
So I just wanted to throw this caveat in. So whomever was responsible for putting this out through orders from Donald Trump, he's not doing anything physically, of course, but he's giving orders. Is everyone just that afraid of him that he says to get it out immediately, that you just do a sloppy job? This is what I'm trying to show you guys. What does this guy have on everybody that makes them do silly crap? This was major. All of these people, most of them are probably dead, but there were a few people that were alive that are still living. But the fact that you put any social security numbers of anybody in there, you'd put that out there for scammers to get these numbers of dead people and use these numbers. I mean, it's putting all of their information out. That's what was redacted, Mr. Trump. And a lot of the historians have already scoured those documents. And I don't know what new is being found. And they're guessing it's not going to be too much more than they already know. I'm glad that they're out there. But do the work. Donald Trump, you don't know everything, man. Come on.
And so I think there ought to be real concern, especially as we see at the amateur hour moving into very sensitive Social Security information, IRS information. Will we see greater care, or is this going to be a pattern where the administration just demands, the instant release or the release of information and the consequences be damned? I mean.
That's just it, guys. That's what scares me to death, is that the mere stupidity of this administration. Now, when it gets into more serious things, times of war and things of that nature, I'm afraid. I'm just afraid. I'm sorry. Be very afraid. Oh, boy. Meanwhile, and the judges are working. A federal judge has blocked Trump's administration from banning transgender people from military service. Judge Anna Reyes ruled Tuesday that Trump's order to exclude transgender troops from military service likely violates their constitutional right. Do you think, Judge, you can just say if you're transgender you can't go? I mean, if that's going to be the liability, I know you have flat feet and all kinds of other physical things that keep you from military service. So how y'all going to get that in there? A federal judge blocked enforcement of President Trump's executive order. So she ruled that Trump's order to exclude transgender troops from military service likely violates their constitutional rights. She was the second judge of the day to rule against the administration, and both rulings came within hours of an extraordinary conflict as Trump called for impeaching a third judge who temporarily blocked deportation rights, drawing a rare rebuke from Chief Justice John Roberts. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, so that's what's going on. The courts are hanging on there, guys, but people want to laugh about constitutional crisis. But the minute he doesn't do what a judge says, we are screwed. They can fight an appeals process all they want. Stuff can go to the Supreme Court all they want, but do it the right way. Do it the right way. And that's what he's going to do, guys, because he's used to court. It's his favorite home, away from home. So, yeah. So, I want to listen to a little bit of Jen Psaki. She was talking about how Trump's whole agenda is really just destroying. Besides all of his revenge, the rest of his agenda is just destroying anything of liberal value whatsoever. That's kind of his whole deal. Even I agree with some things that conservatives might do. But this is just, to me, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's crazy. But listen to a little bit of Jen Psaki and her thoughts after she's been away from a while, and then she came back and she was ready and rare to go and talk about some things. Let's see what Jen is saying.
Okay, I was out last week. I stored up a lot of thoughts about all sorts of things. I did watch the whole government funding debacle from afar. It feels to me like it's about time for a really honest conversation about Democratic leadership in Washington right now and what the heck is going on there. So we're definitely going to have that conversation tonight. I have my own thoughts I'm going to share with you, too. There are also some good things happening out there, no doubt. I mean, we're going to talk about those, too. Democrats like Tim Walz held town hall meetings in red districts over the weekend. That's great. Senator Ruben Gallego held a town hall in Phoenix, Arizona today. He's going to join me later tonight to talk about how that went. We're also going to talk about the hearing tonight over deportations that just wrapped up. Ryan Riley was in the courtroom. He's hustling over here to the studio, and he's going to tell us about everything that happened in that room and what the judge had to say. But I wanted to start tonight with what I kind of think is one of the unifying principles of this administration. And that is basically their myopic view on owning the libs, as they call it. They love to own the libs. To the extent that they have one goal, owning the libs seems to be that goal. And by that, they mean doing anything they can to offend, humiliate, or destroy things that anyone left of Sean Hannity may possibly care about.
So that's the agenda, guys. So I guess we don't know anything. I guess this whole other half of the country, we don't get to get anything. There is no compromise whatsoever. No matter what we think, nothing matters. You're only going to rule with half the country, and everybody else just has to live with it. That's not the way it works, buddy boy. That's not the way it works. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works. You are the president for all people. All people. Not just the right, but the libs too. So she was talking about the deportation rights that happened with the Venezuelan gangs, supposedly, and deportation, I keep saying that word wrong, rights of these citizens or not citizens or whatever they are, but they have rights. Criminals have rights, no matter who it is. You just don't throw somebody on a plane and send them to El Salvador because they have a tattoo that looks alike. That is not due process. So listen to Rachel Maddow on a person who was caught up on this plane with all these Venezuelan supposedly gang members who is not that at all. Just happened to have a tattoo like them. And this guy is a hairdresser. And he's gay. But he's been thrown up in this plane and he's in El Salvador. His sister's been looking for him. But this is what I'm saying. When you don't give Americans due process, they can come and scrape you up off of the streets with no due process and send you away. That's not what this country's about. And if anybody is saying that he's right about this and using some ancient law to do it, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. Okay, let's listen to Rachel Maddow.
This is from a declaration filed in court by a woman who fears her brother has been deported to that Salvadoran prison. She says her brother has never been part of a gang and that he has no criminal record. Quote, I last spoke to him on March 14th, 2025, and believe he was removed to El Salvador shortly after that because I have not heard from him since then, and I can no longer find him on the ICE detainee locator. If he were detained anywhere in the U.S., I know he would contact me because we spoke almost daily while he was previously detained. If he were back in Venezuela, I would hear from him as well. I'm extremely concerned about the health and safety of my little brother. From a declaration filed by an attorney for a young man, she says, fled Venezuela for his safety. Quote, on Friday, March 14th, 2025, one of the attorneys assigned to his case called the detention facility where he was thought to be to try to schedule a legal call. He was told by the facility that his client was no longer there. He asked where his client was and was told by the facility employee that he did not know. Here's immigration lawyer Lindsay Teslowski, quote, our client worked in the arts in Venezuela. He is LGBTQ. His tattoos are benign, but ICE submitted photos of his tattoos as evidence he is a gang member. His attorney planned to present evidence he is not, but he never got the chance because our client has been disappeared. Joining us now is Lindsay Teslowski. She's president of Immigrant Defenders Law Center. Ms. Teslowski, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So this is unusual, and correct me if I am wrong. I know that you have not previously identified your client when speaking to the press or when speaking publicly, but I understand that you want to share his first name and some photos with our viewers tonight. Is that correct?
That's correct. Names and identities of people have been shared today via a list, and so we know that it is inevitable that our client will be identified, and we feel it's important to let the world know who Andrei, our client, is, because he is a human being. He is a young professional from Venezuela. He's a makeup artist. He is a gay man. He is someone who came to the United States seeking protection. He came seeking asylum. Upon entry into the United States, he was detained because of his tattoos, some of which you can see in those photos, but these are not the tattoos of somebody who is involved with gangs. These are normal tattoos that you would see on anybody at a coffee shop anywhere in the United States or Venezuela. And today, we have confirmation from the government, one of the few groups or attorneys that have confirmation that our client is indeed in El Salvador. Our client last week was supposed to appear in court where we would have started the process of refuting the baseless allegations against him, but we never got to have that chance. Our client has been forcibly removed and disappeared, and we don't know what his legal case, where it goes from here.
Do you know if he has any legal recourse at all? Do you have any means of contacting him, or do you have any means of trying to track one down if you don't have one now?
So the only reason we know that our client is in El Salvador is because he was supposed to be in court last Thursday. ICE never presented him. Over the ensuing days, we realized that he was likely part of this, group of planes that went to El Salvador. When we went to court on Monday, we were finally told by ICE that it was confirmed he was in El Salvador. In that moment, they said that he was removed to El Salvador. The immigration judge said, how's it possible that he's been removed if there's no removal order? And the ICE attorney that was in the courtroom said, I don't know. The case has been set over, so we do have a hearing coming up in a couple weeks, but ICE has now told us that they will not facilitate communication with our client because he has, in their words, been removed, and that they will not make him available for that hearing in 2 weeks. So at this point, we are, of course, watching the case closely that is ongoing related to the Alien Enemies Act, and we're pursuing all avenues because, our client's life is at risk. We're concerned for his safety, and the fact that he was forcibly taken from the United States with no due process, it's something that really shocks the conscience in a way that we haven't seen since family separation happened in 2018.
Yeah, the blunt and unsupported assertion that all of these people must have been terrible gang members, and then the photos of your client there, I think speak many thousands of words. Lindsay Tizlowski, president of the Immigrant Defenders Law Center, representing this young man. Thank you for your time. I know that this is a developing story. I hope it is a legally developing story, and I hope you'll keep us apprised. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Sure.
Guys, so this is what I'm saying. No due process. These guys were just rounded up based on tattoos and whatever else. No due process. They didn't go before a judge. They weren't even given trials. Did they get their Miranda rights read to them? We don't know. And then this poor guy who just happens to have a tattoo. What young kid does not have tattoos these days? Got caught up into this, and he's been over there. And if you saw the coverage on TV, they had them all crouched over and shackled, and they shaved their heads off. I mean, you know, Trump likes to make a big TV thing out of it. These poor guys, I mean, some of them may be criminals. And again, I'll say this again. No, we do not want criminal gangs over here and cartels or whatever in our country if they have broken the law. But due process has to happen even for criminals. That's the way this country works. So they have just rounded people up on some amendment law from 1798. The judge said, send them back. And he's still pissed because they didn't follow the order. They've been doing like a time stamp of every time from the time he told them verbally, even to the written. He said, forget about the written. I'm verbally telling you, turn the plane around. And they didn't do it. And now they're over there in El Salvador getting paid by the United States government to house these prisoners. And El Salvadorian prisons are horrible. And we don't know what's going to happen to some of those innocents. There's another guy in there, a black guy, who got caught up in this gang because of a tattoo as well. He's from another country. I'm not sure what country he's from, but he got caught into this as well. Do y'all see what's going on? MAGA, listen. I know you don't give a damn, but, you know, listen anyway. Independents, are you listening? Due process is a part of your rights as an American citizen. This could happen to you. Yes, this could happen to you. Wow. So I wanted to play this one video here about Elon Musk. This is the person who has been studying Elon Musk and his family and their migration to South Africa. And this is kind of chilling. This is kind of chilling, but I want you to listen to what he has to say about Musk's mother and how they got to South Africa. And he doesn't have a very nice past, guys. So there's no reason for us to trust anything he does or his feelings about people of color, because based on what his parents have done and taught him, possibly, I don't know, it's very possible that he does have some sentiment about it. So listen to this. I would call him an expert on the family because he's done a lot of research. I don't have his name. I was trying to find out. He was on Katie Couric's podcast, and I'll find out what his name is, and I'll try to report that back in another episode. But anyway, he was on Katie Couric's podcast, so he has to be a legitimate researcher or podcaster or documentary-ist creator on these people, the Musk, because he's been studying them for a while. So here we go. Let's listen to this from Katie Couric's podcast. And here we go.
Remarkable sort of measure of how the world has turned, that a nostalgic product of apartheid South Africa, Elon Musk, whose grandparents moved there after the Second World War. They were in the Canadian Nazi Party, his maternal grandparents. They moved to apartheid South Africa to be with people with whom they felt at home, a family legacy that he's not repudiated. that his mother very much carries on. If you've sort of caught her at all on TV, she turns up both sides of the Atlantic. She's a alt-right sort of unapologetic exponent of what her son is also pushing, and his algorithm is also promoting on his social media site. And this is far-right politics, hatred of multiculturalism. What he said to the AfD rally that he addressed in that sort of Orwellian big screen, his face comes up, and he says you should no longer feel guilt for what your grandparents or great-grandparents did. It was very clear what he was talking about in a speech that attacks immigration and multiculturalism, the idea that different races cannot live together. This is not something we should just dismiss as the sort of bloviation or the trolling of a sort of Silicon Valley tycoon. This is the sort of shadow president of the United States. And Trump doesn't contradict him, and sometimes Trump echoes him and amplifies him, and vice versa. I cannot stress the newness of this, and the ominous, so the tone of menace to this is very real. And it's being noticed, all around the world, including in allied countries that thought they were allies of the United States and are now beginning to wonder. This is a remarkable.
So there you have it, guys. We're in a pickle. We're in a pickle. And every time I think about this, all this could have been avoided. And yes, I'm going to say it again. Those of you that voted for Donald Trump, all this could have been avoided. God. So I want to ask the question of what kind of Democrat do I want to be? I believe that there is a Tea Party kind of movement happening in the Democratic Party. Some of us are fighters and want us to fight with all we got against this Republican regime. And then we have the ones that are still trying to be moderate and do the right thing. It's time out for that. It's time out for the moderate stuff. All of you that's voting moderate and whatever and think you got to work across the aisle. No, they're not playing by the rules. It's time to fight. So Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez have been out, and there have been huge crowds coming in. So moderates, you're going to probably lose at the ballot box. That's not who we want to be anymore. I'm not that. I'm on the fighting side right now, because you got to fight this lies and deceit with everything that we have. Everything. It's time out for all of this trying to negotiate. They don't want to do that. They care nothing about any liberal policy whatsoever. They don't care. We're always compromising with them. They don't care. I mean, it's getting less and less that we have any common ground with the Republican regime right now. So there needs to be a fight. So that's the Democrat that I am becoming. I guess I'm part of the progressive movement now, because I am not going with those moderates. Alyssa Sockins, the one that did the response, she's over there at her town hall saying that she can't be like Alexandria because I have a purple state and I need to. No, you don't. Fight. Find some fight inside of you. We don't have time for that. Fetterman, we don't have time for that. Chuck Schumer, we don't have time. We have to fight. 4 years could tear up this country totally. And they're not going to negotiate, Chuck. So I'm still upset with you about that, but we're going to move on. All right, so I want to let you listen to Adam Kinzinger on Trump coming after him about the pardons, which I think that's probably gone because there's nothing else we can do about that. But Adam is tough. Listen to Adam. Here we go.
Pardon, it was preemptive just in case Trump's Justice Department goes after you and other members of the January 6th committee. What was your reaction when you saw Trump's post last night declaring your preemptive pardon void and vacant?
Well, first off, I'm trying to figure out what he's trying to distract from, because that's what all this is, always a distraction to try to get people's attention, or maybe he hasn't felt like he's gotten enough attention. But look, Jake, it's like, bring it on. Like, honestly, so, we had an election. I fought against Donald Trump. I wanted Kamala Harris to win. January 6th was a big thing, but America made a different choice. Fine. I'm ready to move on. I'm like, look, we made it very clear what happened on January 6th. America made a decision. There is one person that's obsessed about the 6th because he still has been basically deemed guilty in the court of public opinion, and that's Donald Trump, and he can't handle it. He obsesses about it. So my reaction to him is like, you know what? Then bring it. Like, stop talking about it. Stop being all verbose. Stop pretending like you're tough. Bring the charges then if you really want to do it, because we will crush you in court, and it'll make me 3 times more effective against you. Look, honestly, Jake, I'm ready to move on too. But if he wants to keep bringing it up, bring it up or be quiet. That's how I feel.
I want you to take a listen to what President Trump said about the pardons on Air Force One last night.
It's not my decision. That'll be up to a court. But I would say that they're null and void, because I'm sure Biden didn't have any idea that it was taking place.
Could you hear that okay? I can read that too if you didn't.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you think Trump's move to say the pardon in his view is void is because he wants to investigate the January 6th committee members? Or do you think this is more about trying to reopen a discussion about President Biden's mental acuity, which, of course, could also serve, as you say, as a distraction?
It's probably a little of both. Look, I think he's obsessed with January 6th, and there's no doubt if he could break the law and come after us, he would. And, again, we'd crush him in the court of law. But I also think, yes, look, he'll give, when he had Zelensky in the Oval Office, he was going after Joe Biden. This guy obsesses about Joe Biden because the only time he ran against him, Joe Biden beat him, and that bothers him. And so yes, I think it's constantly trying to change people's view on Joe Biden because he gets stuck. I mean, he's trying to negotiate a solution to the biggest war in Europe, but the guy is obsessed with this vengeance. I mean, Donald Trump, you won. At what point are you like, yeah, I won. I'm vindicated. I feel vindicated. But he can't. He's a small man that just continues to get angry, and it's like, fine, bring it on then.
Adam is tough. He is tough. He said, bring it on. Boy. And speaking of bringing it on, former New York Congressman Jamal Bowman, I think his name Bowman, was on Abby Phillips' News Night with Abby Phillips. And he made a statement that he said about Elon Musk is a tyrant. He called him I don't know what he called him, a Nazi or something. But anyway, Elon Musk, he retweeted that or re-X'd it, whatever you call it, and put out there, he said, this is enough. Look for a lawsuit coming. And he's probably serious. So, dear Jamal, man, I hope that doesn't happen because these people that's why when I get on X, I don't really say much like this that I'm doing on my podcast. Because he gets very into the weeds of people. I mean, he's commanding that thing like it's his own little toy, which it is. And he will get into your DMs or your tweet and say something. And trust me, they're watching. They're watching on that kind of stuff. So that was kind of scary that he put that out there on him. Everybody's called him all kinds of names, but that one, I guess, took it to him. That one got to him for him saying he was a Nazi. But that's what he said. He was going to sue. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So I am up to my last thing that I want to cover today in the podcast, guys. I've had a great time. I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit, so I need to get off here. But I was strolling through some of my follows that I have on TikTok, and this guy here, I was following a lot of his stuff during election season, and he was getting really hurt about a lot of the DEI things, and he come to the conclusion that Americans just hate black people. And I could never say what he's saying straight out because I know the pushback that I'm getting, but this is coming from his soul and his heart, and it's what he feels. But I could have easily said it because I know what he feels, And I want to caution you a bit before I play this because he is a bit upset. So he's using a lot of expletives on this particular post. But I want you to hear where he's coming from and listen to what he's saying because he makes a lot of sense. And the name of his handle is Long Live Judah. And if you want to find him on TikTok, that's his handle. But I want you to listen to him, and this will be my final cover that I want you to just hear because I thought this was quite poignant and effective. So here we go.
It's never fun, obviously, admitting this to myself, but this country, like, really hates black people, man. Like, this America hates black people. And I know that this doesn't go for everybody, but I'm going to speak as if it does because it's a lot of people, millions and millions of people in this country that just don't like black people. So given who I am, of course I'm going to speak on it. I've always heard, you're one of the good ones. Okay, cool, but that doesn't mean I just ignore how y'all treat the ones that you don't deem as one of the worthy good ones, you weird fuckers. To see this administration do all this shit that they're doing right now, and then to see millions of Americans supporting it, there is no way in fucking hell you could have ever been friends with me in the real world and cared about me in the real world and support the bullshit that's going on right now. You can't even pull the card of, oh, we didn't know he was gonna do all of this because we told y'all for fucking months that him and his administration were fucking racists. And I can't even put all the blame on fucking Trump because I know he's just a puppet. He's got a whole team behind him. And all of these racist antics they've been wanting to put into law and into society for years and years and years. They finally have the chance and they're fastballing it. We're not even 2 months in. And I told y'all from the fucking jump what they were gonna do with DEI. They're gonna use it as a fucking guise to be some of the most racist motherfuckers you've ever seen. What is this shit at the Arlington Cemetery? One of the most famous military cemeteries in history. And then they just delete these web pages about the Civil War and black soldiers that died and women soldiers that died. If that's not fucking racism, what is? That's saying, hey, no matter the fuck that you fought for your country and that you were willing to serve your country, fuck that. We only want web pages up about the white men. And the women and people of color, we're gonna erase y'all slowly but surely. Same shit they're doing with the Department of Education, trying to fire all these people and control the curriculum in public schools and all this shit so they can paint a much different history than what actually happened. Because God forbid we tell people what actually happened. Slavery was prevalent and fucked up in this country for more than 400 years. And rather than you sick motherfuckers trying to hide it from the new generation, why don't you just say, hey, this is our fucked up history and we've come this far since then and we're doing a lot better now. Y'all won't even acknowledge the fucking history, bro. I don't want to hear another person that knows me in the real life trying to be like, why are you cutting me off? It's just politics. It's not just politics, bro. You might as well fucking hate me too. To support that shit and push the goalposts like that? I'm not even talking about his wanting to be a fucking dictatorship. When you try to just completely ignore the order of a federal judge, that is about as unconstitutional as it fucking gets. So you can't even call yourselves Americans. Just like you can't fucking sit here and tell me that you're not racist too. Give a fuck about y'all saying I'm one of the good ones? Why? So you can go treat another black person like dog shit? I'm supposed to be okay with it? Why am I one of the good ones? Why? Because I speak well, because I'm educated. Why? You don't get to look at me and say, hey, I like that one, and then look at the rest of them and say, fuck them. You don't get to do that. There is no way in hell you can go tell anybody, hey, I care about me, bro, really? Really? I know that this country hates black people because if Biden had done some of the shit that the Trump administration has done in less than 2 months, they would have impeached him. They would have been up in arms. What the fuck do you mean? Look at the generals they fired in the military. And they try to guise it all under DEI. Let me put it in perspective for these MAGA motherfuckers that say, oh, he's saving freedom of speech. They sent out an email of banned words. What are we arguing about? The administration that sends out an email of banned words is not the administration that is saving freedom of speech. The fact that I have to say that out loud as if I'm explaining it to you is fucking crazy. There are a bunch of white supremacists, Christian nationalists, white nationalists that were pissed off about the Civil War, pissed off about the Civil Rights Movement, pissed off to see black people and marginalized groups and minorities having such positive lives in their country. Do you think that everybody that didn't want segregation to end or didn't want black people to gain status in America, do you think that everybody that wasn't happy with that just died? Or do you think they just didn't have the power to change it or to stop it? And now they feel like they do. It was never in my wildest dreams that I think that another civil rights movement would happen in my lifetime. But I think we're on the brink of one happening this fucking year. They're arresting U.S. citizens, trying to deport them. Trump is out here trying to make MSNBC and CNN illegal. What did that fucking White House press secretary just say? They were trying to say that Biden's preemptive pardons are null and void because he used an auto pen. And one of the CNN reporters was like, well, do you have evidence of that? Do you have evidence of that accusation you're making? And the fucking White House press secretary goes, well, you're the reporter. You go find it. No. You made the accusation. You provide the fucking evidence. That's how you know what they're doing with fucking deportation is profiling, because they don't even want to provide fucking evidence. During the campaign trail, they didn't want to be fact-checked. Trump was so happy to debate Biden no matter how many times. He debated Kamala once, got his ass whooped, and avoided the second one. They run from the facts and evidence. I just can't believe to see thousands and thousands and millions of people support this bullshit, but then call all the other administrations un-American and corrupt. I can't even call it a cult mindset anymore. It's a fucking sickness. It's the same shit they try to do with TikTok. They accuse TikTok of all this bullshit about data breaches. No evidence whatsoever. And then they want to say, oh, this preemptive pardon by Biden is null and void because he used an auto pen. They say, where's the evidence? They say, you're the reporter. You go find the evidence. No. You make the accusation. You provide the evidence. All this really does, in the long run, is it takes out the legitimacy of the federal government. Why would we trust it? Somebody came up to me right now. I'm an official in the federal government. Okay, so? All the honor, all the respect that used to be a part of the federal government, it's out the fucking window. Look who's running the show right now. You think we give a fuck? You think we trust you because you're in the federal government? Are you fucking kidding me? What? Out of all the day-to-day things we bitch and complain about, who the fuck has said, you know what, those web pages about the graves of black soldiers and women, that really pisses me off and messes up my day and my income and my ability to live a quality life in America. So if y'all can delete that, that would be great. Why is that a fucking priority? How many years have we steadily made more money only to go outside and the cost of living be more expensive? They don't give a fuck about that. Them web pages gotta go. And every single time we question these motherfuckers, they point at us and call us the enemies. and the demon Democrats and all this other bullshit. And we're saying, no, y'all are doing some un-American, unconstitutional, racist bullshit and lying to us in our fucking faces. That's why you don't want to do any town halls. That's why you only want to give power to media sources that kiss your ass. That's why you run from fact checking. That's why you never want to be in the fucking spotlight, because we see right through your bullshit. We see the hatred. And they run from it all the same. Fucking country is littered with cowards and racists. And it's so sad to see.
All right, I wanted y'all to hear that in its entirety because his name is Long Live Judah. Long Live Judah. He's on TikTok. Follow him. He's got some great content. Please follow him. And Long Live Judah. I use your content because you really did speak to me. And I think you need to speak to a lot more of Americans. I know the profanity was in there, and that's fine because I know the frustration. But, man, you were speaking for me. You were speaking for me. You really were. Because that's how I feel exactly. You articulated it great. And, guys, the level of where we are and where we want to be, I have nothing against white people. I want us to live in harmony. I love the fact that our country, as diverse as it is, we can have an Irish festival, a Puerto Rican Day, a Black History Month. We can have a Scarborough Day fair for the German citizens, whatever. We can have Native American. That's because our country is that beautiful. Our country is that beautiful. And we live together in this country together. And I love the diversity of our country. I love going to a city and finding, where's the little Chinatown? All the fun stuff you go to do down there, right? Let's go to Little Italy. Probably got some great food over there in that area. I love the diversity. Our differences is what makes us so much stronger. And what's happening right now, guys, it's not who we are. It's not who we are. It's just not. And that brother just really, that was, when I found that and I heard him, I was like, oh my God, he's getting it. He's getting the cusp of it right now as to how we feel. All right, so that's all I have today. And this stuff is hard to do, guys. It's really hard to do and listen to all the stuff that's happening and watching people just not give a damn or care about their fellow man. It's hard to watch. And for some strange reason, they think they're doing something good for everybody. I wish they had one day with that Abby Phillip or one of the pundits would let a viewer, a non-journalist. I worked at a newspaper for many years, but I'm not a journalist. But I've always worked around journalism. I've always written and things like that. I should have been a journalist, but I didn't do it. That wasn't my focus. So I'm what you call a street journalist, if you will. So I would love to have to ask some questions. I want to ask some different questions to some of these pundits and strategists and Trump loyalists. I'm going to ask some questions that's going to make them sit there and have to answer me. And there's not going to be any way for them to veer this way or that way. I just want a clear answer as to where their heart is, as to where their hearts are. Because I know their hearts can't be as hard as some of the things that they're saying and doing and ignoring and lying about. And trying to put this facade over the American people. It's not right. It's not right. So I continue to fight. And I thank you so much if you're one of the people that are following and listening to my podcast. I hope I'm giving you great content. The content Guys, the comments are getting way crazy. They're coming at me. They're coming at me hard, but it's all good. I try to engage, but keep it coming. And thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Let's Talk with Carl E. Long. You have a wonderful day. Bye now.